everyone, this is Reema from The Guiding Star. It's been a while since I have been live, and I wanted to answer a request, more than a question, to a poll that I had asked in my support group for women. They want to know how to improve self-confidence and take care of themselves. So how to improve self-care tips and self-confidence. And I know that self-confidence is a big one for especially many women across the world and in specific cultures. Like, I'm from Asia. Asian cultures, the amount of pressure there is on expectations from women and the expectation of the stereotypes or even discrimination around the gender role that we play, that can cause a lot of difficulty specifically with self-worth, self-confidence. So today I just want to take some time to share. I'm using a filter. I'm liking the filter because I'm generally like a pink person. If I go out in the sun, like, my cheeks and my face becomes pink very quickly. So this filter, even though it's night, it's literally showing the kind of like the shades of my skin that I would have when I would be out in the sun. Obviously, my skin is not as smooth. I wish it was. It was just like, it looks flawless with the filter here. Once again, this is Reema Desai. I'm a life coach. I'm a life skills coach. I work with kids all the way up to, with women up to senior age. Most of my clients are women across 4 continents, and most of them are Asian, some Hispanic, some American, but most of them are from different parts of Asia. Many of them are Indian. Many of them know me in some way or the other. And I do a lot of healing as well. I coach women across different topics, including parenting, self-care. My forte through healing, life coaching, hypnotherapy is to help women come out of their depression, low self-confidence, anxiety, marriage issues, personal issues, feeling unvalued, just giving them the additional support that they need with somebody they can trust to vent out and lift them up. So in terms of my spiritual work, that is the healing work that I do a lot of like shifting their consciousness and detoxing their energy so deeply that their reality changes. Their external circumstances completely shift very quickly, including like coming out of any illness and major personal issues, financial issues, etc. So that was just a little about me. It's because I'm doing a video after very long. I typically used to do videos very often, but I haven't done a video in a long time because I've gotten busier with the demand that's like with my work overall. All right, so let's talk about self-confidence. There's different things that I would like to cover in this video. It's going to be very informal. Probably, as usually my videos are not organized, I just let them flow, but I have a few things in mind that I want to cover. Also, I don't know from the audience that's asking me, I don't know where they're at in their confidence. This video is focused on them more. But I don't know like where, some of us grew up confident, had confidence and lost it along the way. Things happen. Some of us have never really experienced being, having good self-confidence and the range of, in between all of that. I grew up in, my childhood was extremely jarring emotionally. And in terms of confidence, I was down in the dumps all my adolescent years, childhood, adolescent, early adulthood. Not until my mid-30s did I really feel like I've started to build and then continued to grow really well in my self-worth and self-confidence. And the reason for that is there were specific decisions I made, things I did, besides all the therapy and the work that I'd done on myself. To some extent, your external circumstances have to shift while you shift internally, right? Internally, we can shift, and that can create some changes in our external circumstances, but we also need to shift so drastically internally that we make decisions where we are attracting and open to taking the risks for having very different external circumstances to sustain the balance that we need internally. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Let's break these things down. especially for children. So this is like, I know it may not apply directly to women that, with the age group that they're reaching out to me for this topic, but this will help you with your kids. It will help you in your parenting journey. And to some extent, it can be applied to your life even now, to some extent. Especially as kids, when we are growing up, a great way and a very important way to build self-confidence is to get the chance to make decisions. Having the autonomy and the independence to make your own decisions as a child is extremely important. I'm going to stress on it. It's very important for parents to give their kids that opportunity from the time they're as young as 2 years old. And it could be in the smallest of things, but it has to be continually practiced. So by that I mean the choice of clothes they want to wear every single day could be, you could lay some boundaries there by saying, these are the two choices of, do you want to wear this t-shirt or that t-shirt? Do you want to wear this pant or that pant, right? You could lay 2 or 3 options in front of them. That's the framework or the boundary you're creating. But ultimately, you want to let the child decide what they want to pick. Now, you may not be happy with their decision in something as simple as wearing the clothes that they want to wear, or the shoes, that may not be maybe appropriate for park. Going out to a park, you might give them maybe an option of 2 healthy set of, the appropriate set of shoes for the park, or you may give them an option of 1 appropriate, 1 not appropriate. Like, it could be a flip-flop and like a sneaker. And let the child learn from their own decisions by either succeeding or failing, right? So either way, they're going to learn, and that direct learning experience is going to play such a big role in them learning as they go along in life to make bigger decisions with confidence and understanding how their decisions can bring different outcomes. So that part of growth in a child is super important. And I think that's one place where the foundation of the self-confidence impacts you all your life, because how many adults do we know? I don't know if you observe. As a life coach, as a psychologist, I'm not a practicing therapist. I could be if I wanted to. So I have that experience and qualifications. But as I observe people very deeply, very keenly, I'm a very keen observer. Whether I say it or not, like, I really observe people. And I will tell you, how many adults do we know that are confident or that can make good decisions or even quick decisions without feeling self-doubt or afraid of taking a risk, or even just they're completely confused on how to make big decisions in their life, or they need somebody else's advice. There are so many adults that are always like, you tell me what I should do. I don't know what I should do. Or they rely a lot on their partner. That's codependency. And they don't even recognize it as codependency, but constantly relying on somebody else to make a decision for you, or feeling like your partner is going to take care of it because you don't have the internal confidence or the drive or the ability, to have that one clear, focused mind and be willing to take the risk you need to take, or even understand what goes into. So that's a very big part, which means that if you lack self-confidence, now self-confidence, like everything else, is a spectrum, right? Many things are a spectrum. So you could be a completely low most of the time, all the time. You could be completely overconfident, right? Superiority complex, which is also underlying that is some inferiority. You could be in the center and very balanced, which is healthy and good. And then you could be like, that could be like most of the time on an average, where are you at? Because there could be either a tipping scale most of the time, or you could just jump a little bit within the scales. So depending on where you're at, the application of this is how much drastically you need to shift will differ. So that just depends on individual to individual. But if you do suffer from especially extreme low self-confidence or frequent low self-confidence, then or in critical emergency or very difficult situations or big decisions, it's very important that you start learning to start practicing small. It's like learning how to swim, how to ride a bike. Start to make decisions without asking other people. That could be a big step for many of you. Do not ask other people for advice. weigh your own factors or analysis if you have to, or whatever method. Different people have different cognitive methods they apply, and take a decision, take the risk, and see what happens. And it could be there are people that I know, even on what dish to order in a restaurant, they will not be able to decide on their own, which is shocking to me. Okay, so that's one. The second part, which also is very important as a child, and you may have experienced this, so this may be more of self-reflection and just becoming more aware of, especially in terms of siblings or in general, when parents compare. And they couldn't be making passing comments like, look at that child, they're so good at riding their bike and they're working so hard. Just the mention, and I know in India that it goes way beyond that from parents. It's not just a mention. Oftentimes it's a lot of like pushing the child, coaxing, coercing, like be like somebody else, do what they're doing, active comparison, letting their child know they're not as good enough as their sibling or somebody else. That is very high, and that is extremely jarring to self-confidence. Again, foundational, right? So if it's foundational, that means the impact can be chronic, long-term. So if you did experience a lot of self-comparison that was brought to you by, not you internally, but that was brought to you actively or passively by caregivers, then you would have become someone who internally compares yourself as well, because you were conditioned, that was brought to you over and over again. And then that becomes your internal voice. It becomes your internal story that I'm not as good enough as others. Or if you had parents that are, to what I went through, was a very demanding parent, right? That you cannot do anything that will make them happy. No matter what you do, they're not going to be happy with you. And that's oftentimes, it happens when there are parents that themselves are not happy with themselves. They have low self-confidence, and then that spills over in their parenting with you. So in either direction, a very critical parent, harsh parent, a lot of comparison, very demanding parents, in all those scenarios. So if you're doing that to your child, be very careful, be very aware of it, that 100% is very jarring to self-confidence. And if you have experienced that, then your way through that would be to see a therapist, to deal with that issue on a consistent basis. I'm not talking about seeing a psychiatrist. I'm not talking about taking medications. I'm not a supporter of chemicals in your body. In many instances, when even, the world feels they need to follow you, I don't believe in it. But I'm talking about seeing somebody theoretically who understands, like somebody who's a practicing life skills coach, therapist, and not through medication, but they really know the theories of how to help you improve your self-confidence. And it doesn't mean taking 3 or 5 sessions. We're talking about if something's been so chronic over the years, for 20 years, if you've lived in, or 40 years, right, feeling you're not good enough, then you might need 2 years of constant therapy to really come out of it from a skilled therapist who knows what they're doing, who are making you, give you those exercises, self-reflection, self-awareness, pushing you out of your comfort zone to really undo that and then redo a new way of living and thinking and your self-concept, right? So those are the 2 foundational I wanted to cover for childhood. But the other things as an adult, what are some things that you can start doing on a more casual basis to improve your self-confidence? We talked about decisions. We talked about feeling like you're not good enough and comparing yourself to others. Now, the self-comparison in today's world, for adults especially, and now even for teens, of course, comes up a lot through following news feeds of other people. So social media is a ruiner of your personal happiness and life in many ways. Most adults do not know, forget children. Most adults do not know how to manage social media well, how to manage their time on social media, how to make good decisions with social media, right? So just the fact that sometimes let me relax and log into Insta and look through the news feed, and before you know it, it's 20 minutes of scrolling through other people's lives and feeling like internal dialogue, which it may be so subconscious after a point of constantly doing it that you may see like this person's life. Hi. You need me?
I'm about to go to sleep.
5 minutes. 7 minutes?
Yes.
Now you may feel that, other people's lives are good, so much better than yours. And a lot of the lives that are portrayed there, you only portray the good, right? I'm portraying myself through a filter. So think of that. Like, I do not exactly look like this, right? My skin is not that smooth. So there's so many ways to be fake and to hide what reality is. And a smiling picture of a couple could be a smiling picture that's for show, that's right after a massive, ugly argument that they would have had, jarring, like literally bashing each other out. And that could be their truth day in and out, but that's not going to show on social media. And I can give you many examples of people who come to me and they tell me that they pretend on social media because they need other people to believe they're living a good life. They literally tell me that. So there's a lot of fake on social media. There's also a lot of like, you only share your positive, the good, the happy. And then the sense of comparing yourself with others, how you look, how their lives are, what they own, how successful they are. Social media is your enemy in that sense. So if you have low self-confidence, I highly recommend completely stop seeing news feeds of other, completely stop. Unless if you're gaining something specifically constructive and productive out of it. Follow something else that may inspire you if you really want to follow. So that's one very important piece. I can only imagine with teenagers when they're not even fully emotionally developed, socially developed, and being on social media and the amount of pressure there is on kids now to, oh my goodness, to like look good and keep up. It's unbelievable. It's very psychologically, very literally psychologically damaging. And social media can be a cause of depression in today's world, a literal cause of depression and anxiety. Okay, so that's another thing. Then many women, Asian women, many women get so busy in their role of fulfilling the expectations of the society and the family, of being the good daughter-in-law, the good wife, the good mother. It's like the emphasis on being a good girl, right? That's another thing. You don't want to use the words or the psyche or have the psyche of my child needs to be a good child. That's total crap. That's total crap. If you want to teach your kids, teach them good behaviors and the outcomes of different behaviors, right? Making a choice brings a consequence. Did you have a good choice? Did you make a good choice? It's not about being a good boy or girl, it's about the choices you make. Two different things. You're not generalizing their personality as good or bad. You're focusing on a behavior, a decision, an action that was good or bad. So you have to be willing. There's no other way around this. You have to be willing to draw boundaries, say no, and stop people pleasing. You have to do it. If you want to overcome your self-confidence problems, especially self-worth, feeling like you really feel like a piece of crap every day internally, no matter what you show externally, you have to step up for yourself. And that's going to be very discomforting. It's going to be very much outside your comfort zone. You have to start somewhere. Take a small step. And if you cannot do that, be prepared to accept your life as just continuing to be in the same rut. So there's every decision has a consequence, right? So cooking the food that everybody else likes in the family every day, dressing up like how, your husband, your in-laws, your family wants you to, wearing the jewelry. There's so much pressure in the Indian society. There's so much pressure on everything. Every way that you live your life is defined by someone else, or not being able to. How many friends I have that can't talk to me because they're like, my husband will not be okay with me talking, or I have to do this, I have to be available for my in-laws, and they have to take permission to talk to a friend, and it's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. If you don't have the ability to make a choice or when you can talk to a friend, you're living in a cage, right? That's going to be very jarring to your self-confidence. So being willing to go out of your comfort zone in drawing boundaries and saying no, there's no way you can have self-confidence if you cannot stop standing up, if you cannot start standing up for yourself. So that's a big one. It's a big topic, but I'm going to just mention it here as starters. Then on a day-to-day basis, involving yourself in activities that you enjoy. So as hobbies, things that you love to do, very crucial, very important, to the extent that there are women who've completely forgotten what they even enjoy to do because they're so involved in people pleasing, which is just completely fulfilling their duties as a wife or a mom or a daughter-in-law. So you have to include a regular basis, means at least twice a week, no less than once a week, things that you enjoy, like not that you like to do, that you absolutely enjoy, that fulfill you, whether that's dance or gardening or reading or going out for a walk because you enjoy going, not because of exercise, right? Doing Zumba because you enjoy it, not because you have to shed weight. So hobby that fulfills you is super important because that feeds you. It's like the water you give to the plant. You know, it's needed. Your soul needs that to feel good about themselves. Talking to people that boost your self-confidence, staying away from people that put you down, that are critical. Wherever you have a choice, start distancing yourself from people that are, in general, just critical and gossipy and negative, but especially even about you. You want to stay around your well-wishers more. Similar with jobs. If you're in a job where you're being pulled down and your boss is very critical and very harsh, it's time to stand up for yourself, or it's time to maybe start looking somewhere else. So that's, you have to now apply what I'm saying in different circumstances. And then the other part is being part of a group, a team, like sports for childhood, in childhood or at any age, of course, but for a growing child's self-esteem and self-confidence, sports is fantastic if it's suited for them, for their personality, right? So you don't want to push them too hard, too harsh into something that's way too challenging for them. But being part of a team that's motivational, inspirational, learning to work in a team together towards a shared goal, common goal, building the skills. So skill building is a great way to build confidence, whether in sports or any area of your life. To continuing to build skills, you start to feel that I'm capable. I have the ability to do some things. So that ties in with the hobby in a way, but then you can take the hobby an extra mile or add other skill sets to just feel better about yourself, feel more capable. And being part of a group could be sports in adult age, or it could be, the Zumba class that you attend. It could be a yoga class. It could be a knitting class. It could be anything, but being part of a shared goal with a group that's inspirational, motivation, encouraging, supportive, either of that will really help you build your self-confidence. And all of these are ways to care for yourself as well. And now lastly, I would say to build confidence, it's important to spend time with yourself. Very important to hear your inner voice. To hear our inner voice, we have to shut down everything that's outside. We have to completely shut down outside voices. And for that, you have to be aloof from the crowd. People that weekend after weekend want to be in a party and be with other people, and they never want to be alone. They're afraid of hearing and seeing the truth of their life. They're so afraid to face. That's why they're constantly among other people, because they're so afraid of being lonely and finding out the deep truths of their emotional truths, of their inner world, things that have hurt them, the grudges, the resentment they've kept inside, the despair, the depression. They're just avoiding. And that's a great way to reduce your self-confidence, because then you're constantly going to be seeking confidence through others. The people that put a lot on social media and they're waiting for likes and people to see them, that's all external motivation, because internally they're pretty empty. So these are just some tips that I gave. Not my best video in terms of, like in the beginning, I was not right to the point, but it's just I didn't think too much about specifically what the particular group that reached out to me wanted, but this is all I could think of. I have some notes. Yeah, and the last thing I had to say before I go is do difficult things. A great way to build confidence is to do things that are difficult for us. Start small and keep going further into the difficulty. So pick something that's outside your comfort zone, that's difficult for you, master it, and that's a great way. It's a fantastic way to build confidence, because then you feel like I can do this. And that'll give you the energy to master more difficult things in your life and going out of your comfort zone in that sense, okay? Like, for example, if skydiving or scuba diving or skiing, start small, do something besides standing up for yourself, which is also difficult. I'm talking about just doing something that's difficult and mastering it. This is Reema Desai. Thank you for listening. Sorry, I have to go. Bye.